Hi, Keith here from Academy of Bass. Today I'm looking at the iconic Donna Lee by Jaco. But should you learn how to play it? And if you do, can you use anything from it in your actual bass playing? I'll see you in the lesson to find out. So what's the point of learning Donna Lee? If you're not familiar with it, it's a piece by jazz saxophonist Charlie Parker that dates back to the 1940s, but it was brought to the forefront of the bass playing world by Jaco, who recorded it on his seminal solo album released in 1976. If you haven't heard it, you must check it out. And it's one of those pieces that as bass players we feel we should learn. And speaking for myself, I know that from the very first moment that I heard it, I knew that it was something that I should learn how to play. But what's the point? Well, for me, the biggest point of learning any bass line, other than simply wanting to, is to take from the harmonic and rhythmic information so that we can use them in our own playing. By the way, there's a completely free PDF for this lesson. It's got everything in that I'm going to be talking about, fully notated in both standard notation and tab. And there's also a transcription and full analysis of the Donna Lee bassline. So the link to that is posted below. Make sure you grab a copy. If you do enjoy this lesson, give me a shout out and let me know in the comments. And don't forget to like the video and also support the channel by subscribing. So I'm going to play Donna Lee for you now. I played that at quite a modest tempo, and if you check out the original version by Charlie Parker or even Jaco version, both are played at much brighter tempos. For the purpose of this lesson, I'm just going to be looking at the first phrase, and that's played over 3 chords. We're in the key of A flat, and the first chord is A flat major. I'm playing a major 7. The second is F7, F dominant 7, and then it's B flat 7, B flat dominant 7. And the phrase is this. And you might be thinking, well, that's just jazz. I'm not really interested in jazz, and the stuff that we're playing here is of no use to me. And whilst I can't really argue with that, for me it's not strictly true, because whatever style of music we choose to play, whether it's rock, pop, folk, blues, whatever, it really doesn't matter. All we're doing is playing a bunch of notes at different times. And whilst we might not choose to play these notes in this way with these particular rhythmic embellishments in some styles of music, it doesn't mean that we can't benefit from the notes and the rhythm on offer here. So I'm going to start by looking at the motif over the A flat major chord, and in Donna Lee it actually starts halfway through the bar, so we get 1, 2. But let's look at what I'm playing. So I'm starting on G, which is the major 7, then it's A flat, the root, back to G, then it's F, which is the 6th or the 13th, then we move to this E, which isn't in the chord, and it's actually a sharpened 5th of the chord, but for me that's been used because it leads into the next note, which is E flat. It's also the start of the next chord. So we've got, now I'm playing that in a different way. If you listen to the Jaco version, not only is it really fast, but he's picking every note, and that's a great workout for your technique. I'm playing it with a completely different technique, which might not suit a lot of players. I've never seen it played that way before, but I like it because it's lyrical and it sounds smooth. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this up over an A flat major groove so that you can hear what it sounds like in context. And whenever I do this, I always start with the original motif, because that's the best way of really getting accustomed to the notes and the rhythm, how they work and how they sound. But to do that, I've got to figure out where to play it. So I could play it from here, from the 5th fret of the D string. Don't particularly like the way that feels. Or from here, the 10th fret of the A string. Don't particularly like that either, so I'm going to look for another way of playing it. That's it. So I'm playing a different fingering altogether, still starting from G here at the 5th fret of the D string. And this is the fingering that some bass players will use to actually play the Donna Lee head. I've seen a lot of players use that. Now that's much more comfortable, but again we can play that in different places. We could play it from the open G string. We could also play it from the 10th fret of the A string, or again the original position. But I think I'm going to play it down here. Don't forget, all of this is in the PDF, so I'm not going to be looking at fingerings and specifics in any detail, so grab the PDF. So I'm going to play this over a groove now so that you can hear what it sounds like in context of a bass line. So I combined the motif with some things that I'm sure you're familiar with the sound of. I started off with an A flat major pentatonic run. Then I played the motif. Then I played this little chromatic line, so started from C to D flat to D to E flat back to the A flat root. But you might not play over major 7 chords much, or you might not like that major 7 sound, so I'm going to alter this. I'm sure you'll play over a major chord, but the odds are you most definitely will play over a 7 chord, a dominant 7 chord, because they feature so much in rock, pop, blues and funk. So I'm going to change the motif a little bit. I'm going to remove the major 7, the G, and I'm going to turn it into a G flat. So I'm going to play G flat to A flat to G flat. I'm going to keep the F. I'm going to get rid of the E natural, and I'm going to play E flat. And if I keep going down, we get this. Now that's a Mixolydian mode. It's a different way of playing the major scale, and it's the perfect fit to play over a dominant 7 chord. But the key thing here is this motif. So I'm going to play another groove this time, but I'm going to play this motif with some different rhythms so that you can hear the effect of what happens on the bass line when we start messing around with the rhythm and play the notes in different ways. So that's an awful lot of stuff for just a few notes over one chord, but now we're on to the next chord, and it's F7, and the line from Donna Lee is this. So this is a line of 2 halves. The first half is, so we've got E flat, the flattened 7th, D flat, which is the sharpened 5th, or the flattened 6th, the flattened 13th. Then we've got C, the 5th. And then we've got B flat, which is the 4th or the 11th, and the 4th or the 11th is a great sound over a dominant 7 chord. Now, if you're new to this, getting the sharpened 5th in your playing takes time, because you've got to become accustomed to the sound, and you've also got to get used to playing it and using it in your lines. But I'm going to make a slight alteration which is going to make it fit this dominant 7 chord perfectly. I'm going to change the D flat to a D natural. So we've got E flat, D, C and B flat, and if we keep playing down here, we get this Mixolydian mode, which is the perfect fit for the dominant 7 chord. So I'm going to use this motif now in a bass line, but before I do, I need to look at where I might play it, so we can play it from the 1st fret of the D string, or the 6th fret of the A string, or the 13th fret of the D string. Now, because I'm going to be playing a bass line, the chances are I'm either going to be playing it from here or here. So let's have a listen. So we've got even more ideas just from taking the same motif and playing it from a different place. I'm going to look at the next part of the line now. So we've got this. We've got A, the 3rd of F, C, the 5th of F, E flat, the flattened 7th of F, and F, the root note of F. And they're just the notes in the F7 chord. So instead of playing F, A, C and E flat, we're just playing them in a different order. And that's why this is my favourite part of this entire phrase, because I know that that's going to fit perfectly and it's going to sound great. So it's just the notes in the chord arpeggio, but played differently. And we can play it in lots of different ways across the neck. We can play it from the 2nd fret of the G string, or the 14th fret, or we can change the way that we're playing it completely. We can play A, C, E flat and F, and we can do the same from the 12th fret of the A string. Or we can change it again and play this: A, C, E flat and F, and we can do the same from the D string, or from the 12th fret of the A string. And there's another variation, which is this. So we've got A, C, E flat and F, and we can play that from the 14th fret of the G string or the 12th fret of the A string. And I know that in particular this last option is going to encourage me to play very differently. So I'm going to just play some freestyle lines here and try and use as many of these combinations as possible. I really do hope that you can appreciate the huge variety of lines that you can produce just by playing the same 4 notes in different ways. And right at the end I even played something that used both motifs. So we've got E flat, D, C, B flat, A, C, E flat, F. I'm going to move on now and look at the final chord, so B flat 7 this time. And this, like the previous chord, has a line that's in 2 parts. Here's the first part. So we've got G flat, the sharpened 5th, A flat, the flattened 7th, F the 5th, and E flat, the 4th of the 11th. But I'm not actually going to look at that part of the line. I want to look at the second part. We've got D the 3rd, F the 5th, A flat, the flattened 7th, and C the 9th. So what we've done is turn this chord into a B flat 9. If I play it from here, we get B flat the root, D the 3rd, F the 5th, A flat the flattened 7th, C the 9th. And that's actually the opening phrase to I Feel Good by James Brown. Now the 9th's a great sound, it's a really sweet sound, and if you want to start introducing yourself to different sounds and start training your ear to hear different things, the 9th is a great place to start. So I'm going to look at where else we can play this line. So we've got the first line there, we can play the same fingering here starting from the 5th fret of the A string. We can also play it like this. D, F, A flat, C, and we can play that same shape from the 10th fret of the E string. And we can also turn it on its head and play this. So we've got D, F, A flat, C. We can play the same thing from the 7th fret of the G string and also the 12th fret of the D string. So I'm going to play something now. I know they're in the PDF and make sure you grab a copy of that, but for me I played 2 standout lines there that I want to take a really quick look at. So I played up the arpeggio, D, F, A flat, C, A flat, back to B flat the root. And the second time through I used the pattern that takes us down the neck and I played a little walking line but with some rhythm to lead us back into the B flat 7 chord. Now I'm going to take a look at something that I promised to look at earlier in the lesson, and that is to take some of the motifs that we played over F7 and apply them to a completely different style. So this is a little blues rock groove and I'm playing over A7 and D7. Have a listen to see if you can hear some of the lines that we played earlier. hope you spotted them there, but if not, they're in the PDF. Obviously, this is just one of many ways that you can work on a piece like Donna Lee, but I hope I've given you an insight as to how to start taking things that you've learned and get the most out of them and use them in your own way. But you've got to think about what you're playing. This stuff's just not going to fall under your hands, and you can't do it all by patterns and shapes. You've got to think about the notes and the chords that you're playing. You've seen me go through the process where I've altered notes to suit what I was trying to get out of the lines, but this process will work for absolutely any bass line. Don't forget to grab the PDF, the link to that is posted below, and if you've enjoyed the lesson, give me a shout out and let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like the video and support the channel by subscribing. Thanks for joining me, look forward to seeing you again, and in the meantime, happy practicing.